If you're looking to buy a wax cotton jacket, chances are that you have come across at least 3 brands: Barbour, Belstaff, and Filson. There are obviously other brands out there, but these 3 regularly come up in the discussion about which wax cotton jacket is best. In this video, I'm breaking down the history of the brands. I am looking at the philosophy behind the brands, what materials they're using, what are the main differences in terms of fit, for instance, of usage. And I'm fundamentally trying to help you determine which of these brands probably is the best fit for you. I'm not going to review any specific jacket from the 3 brands. I have reviewed many of these jackets. You can find those reviews in the links below or looking at my channel. And if you're new here, well, welcome to Coat Culture. My name is Michele. I'm clearly very passionate about coats. And if this is something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel because it costs you nothing, but it helps me a lot. The history of these brands is very important because it really determines, to this day, the type of jackets that they make, the type of fit that their jackets have, and the type of vibe of the garment itself. Barbour was founded in 1894 in England, and it has become synonymous with the British countryside style. They have remained faithful to that style over the years. At the beginning, they also did jackets for the motorcycle community, but soon they transitioned away from that, although they still have a couple that could be considered motorcycle-inspired. But they are mostly known for their British countryside look. So think Royal Family, think 007, Land Rover, that type of vibe. Belstaff is another British brand that was founded much later in 1924, originally really focusing on the motorcycle market. Belstaff and Barbour have a very different vibe. Belstaff has more of a rebel vibe to it, and you can see that reflected in the celebrities that they use for their advertisement. For instance, David Beckham. The fit is also very different compared to Barbour, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's more fashion conscious than Barbour. Nobody ever really said that a Barbour jacket is impeccably fit, whereas you could say that about a Belstaff jacket. Finally, Filson, it's an American company that was founded in 1897 in Seattle, essentially to equip the folks that were rushing to Alaska during the gold rush of that time. So this specific use very much was reflected in the type of garment that Filson made and is still making to this day. Think about outdoor works. Think about loggers, think about miners even. Think about a rough country jacket that will withstand the punch. In a nutshell, I could say Barbour, Royal Family vibe, Belstaff, cool, slick city vibe, and Filson, rugged outdoor American vibe. Now let's talk about the materials that this brand used. I said before that they all make wax cotton jackets, and you could think that they are therefore very similar, and you would be extremely wrong. The only 2 jackets that are similar to one another in terms of materials are the Barbour and the Belstaff, although there are differences there as well, but definitely the Filson stand out. The wax cotton jacket that Filson makes is called tin cloth, and the name used for this material reflects how rough and tough this material is. In fact, the name tin cloth comes from the fact that this material is considered to be as tough as tin. You could see already on the hanger that this jacket is very, very stiff. Is very rough. It is a 14-ounce wax cotton jacket, so extremely heavy, much heavier than any Barbour jacket. The heaviest wax cotton jacket for Barbour and Belstaff is 10 ounces. Belstaff and Barbour instead use, for the most part, a 6-ounce or an 8-ounce wax cotton. 90% of the jackets, I would say, are 6-ounce wax cotton for both. There is, though, a difference in the way that Barbour and Belstaff treat their wax cotton, and that difference is very evident when you go and buy the jacket and you notice how much Barbour feels oily no matter what the treatment is, thorn-proof or silk oil, whereas the Belstaff treats their jacket probably with less wax, or treat them differently, and it definitely feels less waxy. This reflects onto their performance with water. The Filson is definitely the one that performs the best, simply because of the material used. Then I would say the Barbour, and then I would put the Belstaff. However, let me mention that none of this jacket is fully waterproof. Wax cotton is never fully waterproof, no matter what the marketeers tell you. It's not a question of if the jacket will let water seep through, it's a question of when. So the more wax, the more material you have, the more resistant it's going to be to the water, but ultimately the water is going to come through. If we move away from the cotton and we look at the other materials used by these manufacturers, we will notice that there are differences there as well. And again, they are the direct results of the philosophy, the vibe, the history of these jackets. The Belstaff is the jacket that has the most refinement to it. The materials used for the buttons, for the zipper, the parts that are in contact with your body are just more refined, and they feel better to the touch. I'm not saying they are better in terms of quality. I am saying that they definitely, in general, Barbour jackets look more refined in everything, including the materials that they use for the buckles, for instance. If I compare the buckle of the Trial Master Belstaff to the buckle of the Barbour International, it's night and day. And of course, this also plays a role in the price of these jackets, but it's something to keep in mind. Barbour has that rugged look, but not particularly tough either. This is a jacket that a lot of people use also in office environment over a suit. So again, the materials used are not workwear materials. However, when we look at Filson, everything about their jacket talk about function over form. The buttons are very hard to use. They definitely are not refined buttons that you can find on the Belstaff. The Filson does not have anything to protect your collar from being in contact with the wax cotton of the jacket, whereas the Barbour and Belstaff have all some kind of fabric around the collar area, most likely corduroy, to make sure that your neck and your hair do not come in contact with the wax. So again, overall, it's not just a difference with the weight of the wax cotton used for these three brands. There are differences in the materials used for every single part of the jacket. And these differences in material will also determine how these jackets age. The Filsons will remain as tough as cardboard no matter how long you use them. Of course, they will develop some patina, and of course, they will show some areas where you need to rewax them. But even if they lose their waxing treatment, they're still a 14-ounce wax cotton jacket. Whereas Barbour and Belstaff age more graciously, let's put it this way. Barbour jackets have the tendency of being boxier. They are jackets that are very comfortable. They were built with outdoor pursuits in mind, so they gave room to the person wearing them to move around. If you are horse riding or if you're shooting and you're using a Barbour jacket, you definitely want to be able to move around, and this is reflected in the boxiness of the garments. Belstaff jackets, on the other hand, have a much more tailored fit. No matter what jacket you're buying from Belstaff, you will immediately notice that it's much tighter, that it's probably going to be more difficult to wear over a sport coat or a suit compared to a Barbour jacket. They're definitely more sleek. They have that motorcycle vibe that really transfers to pretty much every jacket they make, both in the leather department and in the wax cotton department. The philosophy of Filson jackets being tough outdoors jackets reflect in the way they are built. They are built very boxy to give room to the wearer to move around and, catalog. However, I have to say that personally, for the way my body is built, I had the most problem with Filson jackets. I can be a small, I can be a medium, I can be a large, or I can be none of them, because the fit To me, it's really weird. Whereas I know that in the case of Barbour, 90% of the time, I will be a 40 regular. In fact, I'm a 40 regular in American clothing and 50 in Italian. For Belstaff, I will always be a 50, 52, or a large, sometimes an extra large. But again, on Filson, I can be everything or nothing. This is one of the reasons why when I talk about Filson jackets, I always recommend that you go and try them on. Unless you have the specific body type for Filson, Filson will not fit you. Now let's talk about how versatile the jackets from each of these brands are. What I mean for versatility in this case is how likely it is that you're going to be able to dress up or down these jackets, use them in different settings, use them for different situations. And if I think about versatility in this way, there is one clear loser and one clear winner. The clear loser is Filson. Filson is not a jacket that you can dress up. Of course, you can wear it with a nice pair of pants and a nice shirt and a nice cashmere sweater, but really there is no way that you're going to take a Filson, any Filson, and turn it into your trench coat to go to work with a nice suit. Or you're not gonna wear this if you're going to a fancy dinner and you want to impress your girlfriend or your wife. This is not the jacket for it. It was never meant to be that jacket, so I'm not faulting it for it. But I'm just telling you that if you're buying a Filson, you have to know that you're probably going to be more limited in the amount of times that you're going to be using it, unless you live that specific outdoors life 365 days out of the year. If that's your lifestyle, the Filson is amazing. Go for it. However, if you're looking for a jacket that can do it all, a jacket that you can wear with a pair of jeans, with a pair of chinos, with a suit, the only really brand to be looking at is probably Barbour. Barbour makes many jackets that are going to be able to transition completely from a business casual to a very dressy to a very casual situation. Whereas the Belstaff are definitely more dressed up than the Barbour in terms of how they look and fit, but in many cases you will not be able to put a sport coat under your Belstaff jacket. Again, this depends very much on your body type, but for instance, as far as I'm concerned, I can put a sport coat or a suit under my Barbour, not the Bidale, but others, any day. And I cannot do it with a Belstaff, and I definitely cannot do it with a Filson. Again, these are very general points. You might find a Barbour jacket that you're not going to be able to put your sports coat underneath. The Ashby is a perfect example. Or you might find a Belstaff jacket that lets you put your sport coat underneath. Another difference among the wax cotton jackets of these three brands is how much of an effort you're going to have to put in to rewax them. You all know that wax cotton need to be rewaxed regularly, and regularly can mean something different depending on how much you use them, but also depending on the type of material and wax used at the factory. Definitely Barbour and Belstaff will have to be rewaxed more often than a Filson jacket. The wax treatment on a Filson jacket will last a little longer than the wax treatment on a Barbour and a Belstaff, based on the assumption that you're using them in the same way. i.e., if I'm using the Barbour and the Filson in a city environment, wearing them once a week, definitely I will have to rewax the Filson years from now, whereas I will have to rewax the Barbour sooner. However, if I'm using the Filson as it is supposed to be used, so in the outdoors doing rough stuff, definitely I will have to apply the waxing treatment sooner than I would simply using my Barbour in a city environment. If you are somebody who rewaxes your own jackets, Reapplying the waxing treatment on a Filson is a lot more work than applying the wax on a Belstaff or on a Barbour. The material is just different. It takes a lot longer. You're going to just have to spend more time and also more physical labor. But if it's something that doesn't bother you, definitely the Filson is the one with the treatment that will last the most. Now let me also mention something about Filson that Barbour and Belstaff do not offer. Filson offer a lifetime warranty. I did a video the other day reviewing this thin cloth short cruiser, and somebody in the comments made me notice that I hadn't mentioned that, and he was absolutely right. I don't particularly believe in a lifetime warranty. Every time I've had to use a lifetime warranty, there was always a reason why it didn't apply to my specific case. But I do not have experience with Filson. And this gentleman in the comment mentioned that as far as he knew, Filson was great. And looking online, apparently the Filson warranty is great. So something to keep in mind, Filson is the only one out of the 3 brands that offer that lifetime warranty. None of these brands is particularly cheap. On average, a Barbour jacket will cost you around $400 here in the US. Belstaff will cost you a little more, around $500. And I'm talking only about the wax cotton Belstaff jackets, because for the leather, the sky is the limit. And Filson is going to be around $350, $400. So in terms of pricing, Filson and Barbour are probably on par, with Barbour being slightly more expensive, whereas Belstaff is the most expensive jacket. Let me also mention where each of these brands makes their clothing. In the case of Barbour, most of their clothing are not made in the UK. There are a couple of jackets that are still made in the UK, notably the Beaufort and the Bedale. They're still made in the UK, and they will proudly tell you so on the label, very, very big for you to read. However, many other jackets are not made in the UK. Those jackets can be made in Moldova, can be made in Bangladesh. They are basically made in a lower labor cost country. Same thing for Belstaff. I've mentioned before that Belstaff was owned for a long time by an Italian family. So a lot of the manufacturing, especially of the leather jackets, moved to Italy during that time and remained in Italy to this day. However, for their wax cotton jacket, many of their jackets are not made in Italy, and definitely not in the UK. Many of their jackets are made in Albania, again, another low-cost country. Filson is no different. We have here an American brand proud of its heritage that is giving you a very tough American-style jacket, which is made, surprise, in Bangladesh. And how much money are they charging for this? $350. Now, I know that in the past, Filson jackets used to be made in America. Well, not anymore. If you're buying a thin cloth jacket, it's going to be made in a low-cost country. I have no problem with the skills of the workforce in this low-cost country. I'm sure that the workers at the Barbour factory in Moldova and in Bangladesh can produce the same quality garments as long as they're given the same quality material that can be produced in the UK. However, I do have a fundamental problem with heritage companies, and these 3 are all heritage companies, that manufacture their so-called heritage jackets in countries which are very much non-heritage, and then they still charge you heritage pricing. I would rather spend more money for a British-made jacket, for a British heritage jacket, rather than spend marginally less for a Barbour jacket made in Moldova. In a nutshell, who are these jackets for? The Barbour is for the gentlemen that want a British style and a very versatile jacket. The Belstaff is for somebody who's looking for a city slick style with more of an Italian fit, and definitely not as rugged as the Barbour. And the Filson is for the tough outdoor guy. Personally, I gravitate more towards Barbour and Belstaff jackets. I have many jackets of these 2 brands. and I do not have as many jackets of the Filson brand. And that is not because I do not like the aesthetic of Filson. I do like the aesthetic, but I feel that a Filson wax cotton jacket asks you to give up many things in exchange of this toughness and ruggedness outdoor. And although I am somebody who camps a lot, spends a lot of time outdoors, I just don't feel willing to accept these compromises in a wax cotton jacket. If I go outdoors, I can use other type of jackets, more technical or even less technical, but they do not ask me to make that compromise, especially at such a high price. So to sum it all up, the Barbour wax cotton jackets are probably the most versatile, the Belstaff the more stylish, and the Filson the more rugged. If you have the money for all of them and you fit all of them, definitely go for all of them. If I had to choose only one, for me it would be Barbour, but I'm very curious to hear what you think in the comment below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel because, as I said, it costs you nothing and it helps me a lot.